I was spending the night at my friend's house, and we were home alone in the evening for a couple of hours while my friend's parents went on a snowmobile ride with their friends. They rode along the frozen creek behind the house, heading to a small bar about 8 miles away. Our evening was filled with Nickelodeon shows like Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? We were also playing games on the Super Nintendo, battling through Mega Man and Super Mario Brothers. I prepared some delicious pizza rolls in the kitchen and heated them in the microwave. My friend's house was familiar, and his mom always kept the cookie jar filled with mouth-watering chocolate chip cookies. The TV was blaring with an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I was completely engrossed in the show. However, as I waited for the microwave timer to count down, I glanced away from the screen and happened to look out the kitchen window. In the darkness, I saw a hooded figure staring through the window. Without thinking, I dashed into the other room where my friend was deeply focused on his game. I blurted out, "I just saw someone outside, a man in a hood, looking through the window." My friend didn't take my words seriously at first, believing I was joking around. He told me to relax and that I must have been spooked by the TV show we were watching. We decided to check the window again, hoping to prove that I was mistaken. The hooded man was no longer there, just an empty yard bathed in darkness. About 10 minutes later, we heard a piercing scream from my friend's younger brother's bedroom at the end of the hall. He was playing a different video game, and his voice was filled with terror as he yelled that he had seen a man looking in through his window. Panicking, we realized that we had to contact my friend's parents. My friend dialed the number of the bar where his parents were and got through to them. They assured us that they'd return home as soon as possible, but it would take them about an hour due to the darkness and the fact that they had been drinking. They also had to take it slow on the snowmobiles along the frozen creek. Feeling a bit safer with the knowledge that his parents were on their way, we didn't want to take any chances. We decided to call the sheriff's department. They arrived at our house about 20 minutes later. We explained what had happened, and they immediately began searching the property. However, they couldn't find anyone in the yard. Our relief was short-lived when one of the deputies informed us that they had picked up a man who had been walking along the road nearby. This man had apparently escaped from the prison located just 5 miles from our house. It made us nervous to think that an escaped convict could have been so close to us. Thankfully, our doors were locked, and the noise from the TV and the video games must have masked any attempts at a break-in. We had a close call that night, and I hate to think about what might have happened if that man had tried to enter our house. In the end, our parents returned safely, and the sheriff's department assured us that the escaped convict was now in custody. It was a terrifying and surreal experience. We were safe, but the memory of that man's face peering through the windows still haunts my nightmares. It was Austin's 7th grade birthday, and we were all at his house for a sleepover. There were about 6 of us boys, and we were excited to celebrate the occasion. Austin lived in a remote area about 12 miles out of town, nestled next to a river and surrounded by cottonwood trees. Most of the night, we had indulged in typical 7th grade boy activities, watching football on TV, devouring pizza, and taking turns playing on the PlayStation. However, as the evening grew later, curiosity and teenage mischief got the best of us. One of the boys confessed to swiping some of his parents' cigarettes. The idea of a forbidden adventure lured us outside into the night. We decided to roam around the small loop where Austin's parents' house was situated, along with a few other scattered houses. As we ventured into the darkness, we couldn't resist ding-dong ditching a couple of the houses and stealing a few moments to smoke those cigarettes. Then, in a nostalgic spirit, we thought of playing a neighborhood game of hide-and-seek, just like we used to when we were kids. The area was small, about a quarter mile in size, and encompassed only about 5 houses. The perfect place for a game of hide-and-seek, we thought. Austin, the birthday boy, agreed to be the seeker. After counting to 100 with his eyes closed, he set off to find us, and the rest of us scattered to find hiding spots. The tall grass in nearby woods provided plenty of hiding opportunities. About 2 minutes into Austin's search, our friend Kevin came bursting out of his hiding spot, his eyes wide with fear and his voice shaking. He was panicked, claiming that he heard a growl and seen a large, shaggy creature standing on 2 legs down by the river. We couldn't believe our ears. It was the sort of story you would expect around a campfire, not at a birthday party, but the terror in Kevin's eyes was undeniable. He insisted he heard the growl and seen the creature with his own eyes. We quickly abandoned the game of hide and seek and instead of seeking Austin, sought refuge inside his house. We locked the doors and huddled together in the living room, too frightened to venture outside again. As the night passed, the story of Kevin's encounter with the strange creature continued to haunt us. We were unsure if we could believe him, but he swore it was the truth. Even years later, at our high school graduation party, we couldn't resist asking him about that night. To our surprise, Kevin remained steadfast, insisting that he heard that growl and seen that shaggy creature by the river during Austin's 7th grade birthday party. I'll never forget that fateful night when my 2 best friends, Lily and Maya, came over for a sleepover. We were all 13, eager to prove our maturity to my parents and show them we could take care of ourselves for a while. My parents were out for the night, and our house was on the edge of a dense forest. We had planned a night of spooky stories, junk food, and horror movies, the perfect sleepover package. As the evening progressed, we sat in the living room, watching TV. Popcorn bowls and candy wrappers littered the coffee tables as we laughed and screamed at the suspenseful scenes on the screen. After a particularly terrifying scene, Maya, who always craved excitement, suggested we take a dare to explore the woods behind my house. "There are rumors about strange things happening there," she said with a mischievous grin. Lily was hesitant, but we eventually talked her into it. We decided it would be a thrill, like something out of a horror movie. We grabbed flashlights and went out the back door. The forest seemed to close around us as we ventured deeper into the darkness. Twigs snapped underfoot, and eerie sounds filled the air. Leaves rustled, and the wind whispered secrets we couldn't decipher. The sense of unease crept over us, but our teenage bravado kept us going. As we walked deeper, our flashlights revealed an old, dilapidated cabin nestled among the trees. The windows were shattered, and the wooden boards creaked in the wind. Despite our apprehension, we decided to investigate. The door groaned open as we stepped inside, our flashlight shaking in our hands. The air inside was damp and musty, and cobwebs danced in the beams of our lights. We discovered old photographs scattered on the floor. The pictures showed a family with hollow eyes and grim expressions, their faces frozen. Goosebumps prickled my skin as I picked up one of the photos. Maya's voice quivered as she whispered, "We should leave this place." I couldn't agree more, but something held us back. It was like an invisible force anchored us to that cabin. Then we heard it, a faint, mournful wail. It was a sound like no other, a haunting cry that seemed to echo from the very depths of despair. Panic set in as we realized we were not alone in the cabin. Our flashlights swung wildly as we searched for the source of the sound. In the corner of the room, we saw a figure, a gaunt, pale woman with stringy hair. She was draped in tattered rags, her eyes vacant yet filled with an unsettling sorrow. I managed to say, "Who are you?" The woman's lips moved, but only an unintelligible whisper came out. Her bony fingers reached out towards us, and we stumbled back in terror. Maya screamed, and we turned to flee, but the door had slammed shut behind us. Panic and fear filled us as we pounded on the door, screaming for help, but there was no response. It was like the forest had swallowed us whole. With our hearts pounding, we turned back to face the woman. She stood in the same spot, her pale eyes fixed on us. In a voice filled with desperation, she uttered, "Help me." Lily's bravery kicked in, and she cautiously approached the woman. "How can we help you?" she asked, her voice shaky. The woman's eyes welled up with tears as she pointed to the photographs on the floor. "Find my family. Save them." As we picked up the scattered photographs, we realized they depicted the same family we had seen earlier, the ones with the hollow eyes. It was clear that this woman was somehow connected to them, trapped in this haunting cabin. Determined to help her, we promised to find her family and set them free. With that, the door creaked open, and the woman's wail faded into the night. We stumbled out of the cabin, dazed and terrified. The forest seemed darker, more menacing than before. We returned home, vowing to uncover the mystery of the cabin and to save the trapped souls within. I will keep you updated on what we find out.